Tonight is the night before my wedding to Nathaniel. His ex, Chloe, insisted on coming with a group of old classmates to congratulate us. The instant I pushed the door open, I saw Chloe on tiptoe, kissing Nathaniel on the lips. Nathaniel didn't push her away. In fact, when she almost lost her balance, he reached out and steadied her waist. The gesture was gentle, utterly different from the indifference he'd shown me these past days. His old classmates around them were whooping and cheering, acting as if they'd watched this scene play out countless times, smooth and natural. The noise grated like a hand clamped around my throat, so tight I could hardly breathe. "Daisy," someone called when they saw me walk in. The words cut through the din. They not only succeeded in separating the pair but also swung every head in the room toward me. "Oh!" Chloe shrieked theatrically. She hurried over, a flush still on her cheeks. "We were playing Party Dare just now, and Nathaniel and I lost. Don't get the wrong idea." I stared at her in disbelief. Earlier, I'd stepped out on an errand. On my way back, an iMessage request popped up. Chloe read the note. The moment I accepted, she sent a photo of her and Nathaniel cuddled close. "Guess what he and I are doing right now?" She deleted it in seconds, then casually added, "Happy wedding." Now she was explaining herself as if none of that provocation had ever happened. As if I were the one making a fuss, unreasonable and hysterical. Afraid I still wouldn't buy it, Chloe suddenly grabbed my wrist. I flung her off before she could say more. She stumbled backward and, just like that, fell right into Nathaniel's waiting arms. It was raining outside, my soles were wet and I slipped, bumping into a side table. My phone hit the floor and skidded several feet. The soft thud sucked every breath of sound from the room. Someone picked the phone up and set it on the table without a word. Only then did Nathaniel seem to come back to himself and hurry over to help me. I found it almost laughable. Forcing myself upright, I sidestepped his reach. I took a steadying breath and looked him in the eye. "Nathaniel, if I told you she just texted to taunt me, said that, Daisy, it was just a game," Nathaniel cut in. His tone was as calm as ever, the impatience on his face undisguised. I froze. A burning pain in my ankle climbed to my brain and flooded every nerve. Only then did the delayed ache and humiliation crash over me. Unable to stay another second, I grabbed my phone and bolted for the restroom. I twisted the faucet and splashed my face. The icy water chilled me to the bone. Suddenly the phone vibrated, an iMessage from Chloe, though I'd never saved her contact. After a blank second I realized I'd grabbed Nathaniel's phone in my rush. Before I could stop myself, I had opened the thread between him and Chloe. Chloe's latest line read, "I forgot to take the morning after pill that night." A handful of words, yet they turned my blood to ice. So while I'd been racing around juggling last-minute wedding errands, they'd slept together? The overhead light glared on the screen, blurring my vision, but it also dragged up other memories. The evening before last, I'd gone straight to the Grand after work, skipping dinner, and ended up with a brutal bout of gastroenteritis. Nathaniel had said he'd be stuck at the office. I called him over a dozen times and got nothing. Clutching my stomach in agony, I took a cab to the hospital alone at 3 a.m. Turns out he'd switched his phone off and disappeared all night, for her. My heart felt split open. I don't know how I kept scrolling. Then I froze on one exchange from a week ago. Chloe had sent a picture of a ragdoll kitten. "Our little boy's getting cuter by the day, HHH. He'd replied, and changed his lock screen photo to that same cat. My mind went blank. I didn't even notice someone approach until the phone was yanked away. Nathaniel's face was dark, his voice cold. "Grabbed the wrong phone on purpose?" Staring into eyes both familiar and alien, I felt the last thread inside me snap. "How about you, any explanations?" "That kiss, just a game," you said. "Then what about these messages? And the wallpaper? Machi's photo used to be there. Why switch to the picture she sent?" My finger trembled at his screen, my voice nearly hoarse. Even with the evidence staring him down, I still waited for an answer. But he only killed the screen and looked at me blankly. Silence has always been his specialty. Back when Nathaniel pursued me for months, the moment I finally said yes was because of Machi. My parents divorced when I was little. Grandma raised me. She died a few years ago, leaving me Machi with the words, "She'll stay with you in my place." One night while I was out walking the dog, Machi vanished in the blink of an eye. I combed the park until I collapsed on the ground, hugging my knees, sobbing. The one who brought Machi back was Nathaniel. He arrived cradling the pup, panting, yet sounding offhand. I was jogging and saw a man carrying her off in a hurry, pretty sure he was a pet thief. Relief and dread washed through me, tears kept falling. "Don't cry." Nathaniel, usually a neat freak, parked himself on the dirty curb beside me. He stayed quiet for a long beat, then sighed softly. When you cry, I don't know what to do. Moonlight brushed his profile as he gazed at me, eyes gentle and sincere. Machi will always be with you, and so will I. After that, we were together. 3 years. He treated me well, we did everything couples do. 2 months ago, when I accepted his proposal, his college first love, Chloe, suddenly resurfaced. At first, worry gnawed at me. To put me at ease, whenever Chloe called or showed up at his firm, Nathaniel told me every detail. He worked hard to prove the past was buried. Yet watching them kiss, watching him replace Machi's photo, I understood, Nathaniel had never forgotten her. I knew I shouldn't cry, but tears rolled due. WN unchecked until I shook with silent sobs. Nathaniel was quiet for ages, then said flatly, you probably don't realize this, but seeing you cry like that, I feel nothing. So calm, so simple a declaration that he no longer loved me. In that instant my world collapsed. I don't know how much time passed before a voice note from my best friend arrived. She already knew what had happened. Even through the screen, her voice was thick with guilt. A beat later it clicked. Once, she and I had gone hiking and couldn't get a ride back. She asked her older brother to pick us up. She's from a blended family, her brother had lived abroad and I'd never met him. When the call wouldn't connect, she rang Nathaniel, who happened to be nearby on business. That's how he and I met. Probably why she feels so responsible. She texted again, don't move, we're coming to get you at the Grand. I didn't have time to parse the word we. I splashed water on my face and stood to leave. Turning, I found Chloe had slipped out too. She stood behind Nathaniel, watching me, pity glinting in her eyes. And buried beneath, unmistakable mockery and scorn. A look I knew too well. All these months, every engineered coincidence, she'd pierced me with that same veiled glare. I used to wonder how she could be so sure of winning him back when Nathaniel treated her with near-Arctic coldness. Until, a month ago, he first took me to meet his parents. While his mother served me food, she blurted Chloe's name at me. She never noticed the slip, warmly urging, Chloe, the fish is fresh, eat up. My hands trembled so hard I couldn't hold my chopsticks. In that moment, her affectionate gaze overlapped perfectly with Chloe's. Back in our room, Nathaniel hugged me from behind at once, apologetic. Eleanor's getting old and forgetful, it just slipped. Forgive her, okay? I only asked him one thing. All those times Chloe humbled herself to find you, did you ever waver? He stayed silent a long while. Finally, slowly, firmly. He whispered in my ear, babe, you're the only one in my heart now. The calm resignation in his voice left me no room for doubt. Yet we didn't speak another word for the rest of the night. He even claimed he had work to finish and slept in the study. My thoughts snapped back to the present. I stared blankly at the two people in front of me. The pain of betrayal, that tearing, ripping sensation, had sprouted during what just happened, and now, in the details I'd overlooked before, it howled and spread without restraint. Nathaniel was my first love, the only man I'd wanted to spend my life with in all my 20-something years. But I wasn't his, neither his first nor his only. The one he'd always wanted was Chloe. When I walked past him, I forced down the bitterness and kept my voice steady. The wedding's off tomorrow. Once we're home tonight we'll explain to our parents. We haven't picked up the license yet, they'll understand. I left without waiting for an answer. Outside the Grand, I realized the rain hadn't stopped. A hazy mist hung in the air, blurring everything. Night was deepening, and the chill seeped straight into my bones. I glanced at my phone, not sure what I was hoping for, no new messages. An umbrella blocked the gloomy sky above me, the fingers gripping the handle were pale and long. I blinked, assuming my best friend had rushed over. Meeting those dark eyes, I swallowed the second half of her name. Sebastian? Maybe because the umbrella tilted toward me, his hair was a little wet. He looked down at me and answered quietly, Stella's in the car. I was slightly dazed. Although Sebastian was Stella's older brother, we'd rarely crossed paths, nothing more than nodding acquaintances. I hadn't expected him to come with her. Before I could speak, I felt an icy stare from behind. I turned instinctively. Nathaniel stood at the Grand's entrance, expressionless, watching us. I looked away calmly and followed Sebastian into the car. The moment I sat down, Leaner called. Nathaniel told me everything. Such a tiny matter, you call off a wedding and want me dead from anger? The engine ignited up front. Sebastian gripped the wheel. In the dim light his usually mild face looked unexpectedly cold. Eleanor paused, seemingly holding back rage. Go to your father's place. We'll talk there. She hung up at once. Your mom, Stella clasped my icy hand, her eyes conflicted. I gave a faint smile after a moment of silence. I'm used to it. Ever since Richard and Eleanor remarried, Eleanor had another son and Richard a daughter. I'd long ago grown accustomed to their indifference. On the way, my best friend told me she and Sebastian had been eating at a nearby restaurant, so they rushed over together. Then she added casually, my brother insisted on coming. Back at Richard's it was still early. Eleanor sat on the sofa with a stony face, Richard sat opposite her, smoking. Richard's new wife and daughter were nowhere to be seen, probably asked to stay away. When she heard me come in, Eleanor sniffed coldly and needled Richard, calling off a wedding over a party dare. She's definitely your daughter. Richard ignored her, stubbed out his cigarette, and asked me, you've decided? I nodded firmly. Yes. I'll take full responsibility. I forbid it. Eleanor's fury finally erupted, she sprang up and jabbed a finger at me. Engraved invitations sent to every friend and relative, and now you quit. If I'd known you'd disgrace me like this, I'd never have given birth to you. Even braced for it, her words stabbed deep. Mom, it isn't just the game. I found Nathaniel's messages with that woman on his phone. I met Eleanor's eyes, enunciating every word. The night before last, they slept together. Eleanor froze, surprise flickering across her face, but she still declared, impossible. That boy is wonderful. He just promised your brother a job. He'd never cross the line. I stared at her, unable to breathe. Eleanor seemed to realize what she'd said. Her lips twitched, searching for an explanation that never came. Enough. Richard barked, voice rising in irritation. The child has made up her mind. Don't play the good parent, Eleanor sneered, finally finding a target. When we divorced she was 5, and the court gave you custody. You did nothing, parked her with your rural mother and hurried off to remarry. After Grandma died you had to bring her back, but your new daughter got barked at by Grandma's dog, so you decided to sell it, forcing her to move out. She jabbed at the family photo on the wall, giving up all pretense. Tell me, since that daughter of yours was born, have you ever had room in your heart for her? Richard's eyes reddened with rage, yet he didn't deny it. You've got no right to talk. You only care about your precious son. They kept trading barbs, never noticing I'd slipped into the guest room. There's no real bedroom for me here. Richard had only prepared this temporary guest room so the groom could fetch the bride from the bride's home. Silence filled the room except for my breathing. My phone dinged abruptly. Chloe, we're going to sing, want to join? A moment later she sent a photo of them in a karaoke lounge. Chloe held the mic, lips curved, gazing at Nathaniel on the sofa. Nathaniel sat in dim light. I couldn't see his expression, but it was surely fond and happy. Surrounding classmates blurred into background scenery. On the screen scrolled the lyrics of an old hit, I still want to love you again, no more blank spaces. No more letting memories fill tomorrow, I want to look forward to loving you anew. I thought I'd cry, but oddly, I felt only perfect calm. Calmly I blocked Chloe, calmly I phoned every guest to say the wedding was off. After the last call, Nathaniel rang. Background noise spilled through the line. He stayed silent a long while, voice glacial. You're serious? I didn't want to talk. I murmured, and ended the call. Before I could power off, an iMessage from Sebastian popped up, put ointment on that ankle scrape. I stared for a long time. When I'd tripped at the ground the table had gashed my ankle. The cut wasn't shallow, but I'd gritted my teeth and said nothing. Nathaniel hadn't noticed, nor had Eleanor or Richard. Yet Sebastian had spotted it. The room was crammed with odds and ends. I rummaged a drawer and actually found a first aid kit. Maybe it was his quiet concern, but I took care of the wound with extra care, so absorbed I didn't hear the knock. It was Nathaniel. The cotton swab and ointment clattered to the floor. Eleanor stood behind him, looking away from my stunned gaze. Mom still can't believe Nathaniel would wrong you. Since he's here, you two talk properly. She shut the door quickly, leaving us alone. His eyes fell on my ankle. You hurt it when you fell? His warm palm covered my icy hand. Sorry, I didn't notice. The damp heat made me stiffen. I yanked my hand back reflexively. Please leave. Maybe my coldness startled him. He looked lost for a second, then composed himself. Daisy, marriage isn't a joke. Won't you give me one chance to explain? Explain? I looked at him, suddenly wanting to laugh. What exactly would you explain, Nathaniel? That you didn't push Chloe away when she kissed you? Or why you ignored my call the night before last and ran to her? Daisy, when I most needed your explanation, you chose silence. I cut him off. An apology or explanation that comes too late is meaningless. Nathaniel stared, startled. Daisy, believe me or not, it's not what you think. I gazed at him without a word. A venture deal at my firm blew up recently. The night before last I was in meetings almost till dawn. I left my phone in the office. The battery died when the power went out. I didn't dodge your call, and I never went to her. As for tonight at the Grand, someone borrowed my phone. The lock screen photo was probably changed then. Afterward we grabbed the wrong phones. I have no idea what she sent. You. He paused for a moment. When I saw it, it only said she'd unsent a message. I froze. Chloe had pulled that trick before. Between the venture deal and all the wedding errands, I've been a wreck these past few days. I took it out on you, that was wrong. He tugged at his tie, remorse flickering in his eyes. When the others started stirring things up, my head spun. I don't know how, but I forgot to push her away. Yet his explanations landed like exhausted sighs in my ears. Daisy, Chloe, and I are truly over. Nathaniel cautiously laid his hand over mine again. After maybe 2 silent seconds, I slipped my hand free. Nathaniel, just because you didn't technically sleep with her doesn't mean you didn't betray us. I can't pretend nothing happened. Coldness and silence cut like knives. You can brush off the wounds they left, but I can't. You probably never noticed. I curled my fingers, steadied my breathing, then forced the words out. How gentle your face becomes when you look at her. Nathaniel froze. He must have also forgotten that, in a moment of honesty or impulse, he once told me my tears now left him numb. He started to speak. I cut him off. Since you won't leave, I will. I opened the door and walked straight out. Behind me came Nathaniel's hoarse plea. Don't go. I hadn't expected to see Sebastian in the downstairs sitting room. He lounged on the sofa, idly scrolling on his phone. On the coffee table sat a tube of ointment. When he noticed me, he said with mild resignation, Stella freaked out about your cut, ordered me to deliver this. I blinked, almost laughed, and was about to say I'd already disinfected it when I felt a mocking gaze from the side. Turned out Chloe was here too. How had she found my house? She strolled over, expression unreadable beneath a practiced smile. Well, someone looks cheerful. Made up with Nathaniel? I smiled back, eyebrow arched. What do you think we were doing in there so long? Chloe's step faltered, whatever she ima. Jind made her glare sharpen. I'd meant to repay her provocations for once, but watching her face sour, I found the whole act tiresome. Nathaniel appeared. Why are you two still here? The question was aimed at Chloe, and Sebastian. Sebastian stayed silent. Chloe couldn't. You dragged me here to explain things to her parents, and now that you've kissed and made up, you just toss me aside? Nathaniel offered no denial, only a quiet acceptance. Seeing how he treated her, I couldn't grasp what he hoped to achieve. Finally Chloe cracked. Nathaniel, you can't do this to me. She stood rigid, pride stripped away, voice hollow with despair. Nathaniel, do you really not want me anymore? He said nothing, only slid a hand to my waist, half pulling me close. Chloe laughed abruptly, then calmly fished a slip of paper from her bag and held it out. A positive pregnancy test. Chloe's name was printed there, 4 weeks along. Sure, 2 nights ago we did nothing, she said, eyes pinned on me, smile widening. But a month ago, during one of your cold wars, he went drinking. My mind detonated. I turned, stiff-necked. Nathaniel stared at the paper, face draining to ash. It felt like wet cotton shoved down my throat, hardening into steel bars that stabbed deeper with every breath. His reaction confessed it all. Daisy. A rim of red ringed his eyes. Watching him struggle to explain and fail, I felt something inside me quietly dissolve. What remained was pure nausea. Nathaniel, no one forced you to forget her. You could have stayed faithful to your epic college romance. Why drag me into it? I drank too much that night. He rasped. I cut him off. Don't insult me with the wrong body accident lie. If you can't own it, I can only despise you. Nathaniel stood motionless, chalk white. After Grandma died, Nathaniel had been the kindest soul in my world. Maybe my own loneliness magnified that kindness. But does being starved for love mean I deserve wounds and a love littered with asterisks? I don't know how much time passed before he whispered, I'm sorry. In the dim room he turned and walked, step by heavy step, toward the door. When his silhouette finally vanished, Chloe looked at me, triumph glittering in her pretty, reckless eyes. Get it now? You'll never beat me. I regarded her in silence, suddenly skeptical. Was this woman really Nathaniel's college classmate? Had she even attended college? Before I could ask, a low voice sounded behind me. If you're really 4 weeks pregnant, schedule an MRI or CT scan soon, for the baby's sake. Chloe frowned. What? Sebastian's tone stayed even. When cerebral function is compromised, imaging can clarify the pathology and assess any hereditary risk. I blinked, then snorted a laugh. Catching on, Chloe snapped, "The hell? Are you saying I'm brain damaged?" Sebastian didn't deny it. "Full recovery's unlikely, but early intervention helps." Chloe stormed out, swearing the whole way, like the neighbor's yappy chihuahua losing an argument to my machi. I laughed until my ribs hurt. When I finally turned, I found Sebastian watching me. Meeting my gaze, he said matter-of-factly, "Get some rest." Mission accomplished, Stella's orders are fulfilled. I stepped onto the balcony, watched his car disappear, and exhaled slowly. Back in my room, Stella called. "Chloe's pregnant?" I told her everything, ending with lavish praise for Sebastian's sass. Stella caught the hitch. "Wait, my brother came by?" He told me he was heading straight to the office. After that night I moved in with Stella temporarily until I found a place. I'd retrieve my things from Nathaniel's later. Sebastian was abroad on business, gone at least a month, so accepting Stella's offer felt safe. Eleanor rang me several times, I let it go to voicemail. Nathaniel didn't show up either. According to Stella, Chloe had moved into Eleanor's house and was being waited on hand and foot, yet no matter how much his mother coaxed, Nathaniel never once went home. None of that concerned me anymore. To celebrate signing a lease, Stella and I decided to try ice skating. The rink was nearly empty that morning, perfect for beginners. Stella talks big, but the instant she stepped onto the ice she clamped onto the boards, lips trembling. I can't risk falling. You go ahead, once I'm mentally ready, I'll catch up." Resigned, I shuffled along the rail myself. Truth is, my balance is awful, and I can't skate either. My last visit here was, well, last time. About half an hour later I let go, tried to stand, when someone whizzed past. The impact sent me lurching. "Careful." A familiar low voice, a steady hand at my waist kept me upright. I met those dark eyes and blinked. Sebastian. Fresh off the plane, in a black trench that skimmed his broad shoulders. Stella texted the second we landed, said you two were here and needed a ride. He explained his sudden arrival. "Still can't skate?" I gave a non-committal then caught the word. "Still?" Sebastian didn't elaborate. Instead he let go. The moment his hand left, I hugged the rail like driftwood. He chuckled under his breath. When he'd had his fill, he peeled off his coat, draped it over the barrier, tapped it once. "Want a lesson?" His voice didn't have its usual cool edge, it sounded loose, almost lazy. The way he smiled made my cheeks burn, and a sudden, childish need to win flared up. I didn't refuse. "Then I'll gladly take you up on it." If it weren't for this skating outing, I never would have discovered how much patience Sebastian actually possessed. He slowed every move, explaining how to push, how to glide, which edge to trust. Except for the moment I toppled straight into him, his body locked for a split second. He looked effortless the entire time. After a while I realized I wasn't eating ice every other second. Excited, I turned my head. "I think I've got." Sebastian's gaze was fixed on me, laughter tucked in his voice. You've graduated." His eyes were bright, fathomless, like a pool still, clear water. Usually they rested on people with polite detachment. Tonight something extra rippled across the surface. I froze for a heartbeat. When we left the rink, Stella was summoned back to the office to tweak a pitch deck, so the car held only Sebastian and me. I kept expecting him to speak, but he said nothing, eyes on the road. Just as I decided I'd imagined the whole evening, he pulled over. "Truth is, I regret something." I blinked. "Huh?" "Stella rang me half a dozen times that night, said you two couldn't get a ride and begged me to come. I was buried in a venture deal and missed every call. So Stella had dialed Nathaniel instead." Sebastian turned his head toward me. "The first time I ever saw you was right here, at this same rink. 3 years ago I'd come once. Richard had brought my 6-year-old sister to skate and dragged me along. You were with your family. Your dad was teaching your sister, and you stood quietly, hugging the rail, watching. You finally let go, but you couldn't get the feel for it, so you went to ask him for help. He had his back to you, busy on a call." I curled my fingers, the distant memory sharpening under his words. "Then some kid crashed into your sister, and you instinctively shot over and cushioned her fall." Sebastian paused, his voice dropping. "Your father assumed you'd knocked her down. He scolded you, scooped her up, and left, abandoning you on the ice." He glanced at me and exhaled. "I thought you'd break down. But you looked calm, as if it were routine. That afternoon you practiced alone, falling again and again without a sound. Until one spill was so hard tears leaked from the corners of your eyes. You just stared, swiped at them, then gave a tiny smile. That was when I understood. You weren't numb, you weren't tear-proof, you'd simply forgotten how to cry." You were trying to teach yourself, trying to save yourself. Sebastian held my gaze and said quietly, "It was the first time I ever ached for a stranger." I stared back, stunned. Finally I managed. "Richard apologized afterward. When he returned the skates, someone told him I hadn't pushed her. To make amends he bought me a ridiculously expensive pair of blades. But I never skated again." A suspicion surfaced, and before I could voice it he answered, "That someone was me. I'm the one who told him." My heart lurched. Sebastian studied me. "After that missed chance, the next time we met you were already with Nathaniel. When we stepped out I still felt dazed. I nearly tripped on the curb. Sebastian's hand was already, naturally, habitually, at my waist. "Watch the road," he murmured. I wasn't watching the road, I was watching him. I opened my mouth, but a familiar voice behind me cut in. "Daisy." Nathaniel stood beneath the trees, moonlight erasing the details of his face until I couldn't read his expression. When he came closer I saw how thin he'd grown in a month, fatigue etched around his eyes. My first words dripped acid. "Shouldn't you be nursing your other woman?" He acted as if he hadn't heard, gaze flicking between Sebastian and me, voice raw. "You two look cozy. How far has it gone?" The accusation felt so surreal I thought I'd misheard. "Nathaniel, I don't owe you updates, we're nothing now." He flinched, awkward. "I'm sorry." I turned to leave, I was done. "Chloe isn't pregnant." The sentence stopped me mid-step. I looked back. "Come again?" His Adam's apple bobbed. The positive pregnancy test wasn't hers. She has a friend close to her age, also named Chloe, who really is pregnant. She stole that woman's test. I stared, blank. Instinctively I glanced at Sebastian, he was already looking at me. In each other's eyes we read the same line, Chloe's brain might actually be broken. "We fought yesterday, she spilled everything. About the night I got trashed, next morning I remembered zero, but in the end we never actually," Sebastian cut in, tone flat. "So if the butcher slaughters, scalds, and scrapes the pig but never eats it, he's innocent?" Nathaniel's face darkened, Sebastian added mildly, "Metaphor." A long silence stretched before Nathaniel turned to me. "Daisy," he said, voice hollow, "no matter what I say or do now, you'll never forgive me, will you?" I didn't hesitate. "Correct." He stiffened, murmuring, "But Chloe's gone, the problem's solved, you were almost ready to forgive me." I stayed quiet, then broke in. "Remember the cracked wristwatch in your drawer?" He blinked, nodding slowly. "You claimed some relative gave it to you. Truth is Chloe did, right?" I asked softly, "Know how I found out?" His lips trembled, no sound came. "The day of your alumni dinner she texted me your old couple photos. Matching couple watches, wasn't it?" His expression went vacant. I smiled faintly. "The one who hurt me was never her, it was you, the man who handed her the knife every single time." His eyes, already rimmed red, flooded. Looking at his bloodless face, I whispered, "I never want to see you again." Coda after that night Nathaniel vanished from my life. Once I'd moved, Stella started crashing at my place, claiming she was addicted to our slumber party rituals. Every evening Sebastian video called her. After a minute of small talk he smoothly tossed the conversational ball to me. Over time it felt as if Sebastian and I were the ones chatting each night. Weekends the three of us hiked, but Stella always bailed halfway, whining about sore calves, so in the end only Sebastian and I hit the trail. Of course I knew she was engineering couple time. And of course I knew I didn't mind. But accepting him for real? I wasn't there yet. Until Stella, exasperated, thrust Sebastian's notebook into my hands. Calling it a diary was generous, calling it random scribbles felt unfair. From the day he learned he'd missed that first ride, because of the venture deal, he had written the same line daily: "Won the deal, lost my wife." 8 characters, gouged so deep the page bled. I gaped. Sebastian walked in, snatched the notebook. Flustered, fingers pressed to his lips. Just doodling. My insides had been a tangled knot, but the sight of him, ears crimson, made laughter bubble out, dissolving every last thread of doubt. I crave a love spotless and whole. Wasn't it standing right in front of me? I inhaled, held out my hand. He gave the notebook back, puzzled. I bent over, flipped to today's page, drew a firm line through the first 6 words. Standing, I met his gaze and tapped the 2 words left. "Read them." He blinked, smiled. "Wife." I blushed, answered softly, Thank you for watching today's story. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and share it with your friends. We look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments. Feel free to share your perspectives, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more exciting stories. See you next time.